of the economy, because yet there's going to be bleeding, but it says that those who believe that it is a necessary surgery that needs to be done, but then it has a lot of implications, and that those who argue also that it was a knee-jerk approach. How did we find ourselves? Was it the right decision that the president had made at the time, or was it the wrong one?
Well, thank you very much, Sheun. I think let me try and see if I can put the issue of subsidy removal in its proper context. Like you rightly pointed out, I was a member of the Presidential Committee on Economic Meltdown, 2008-2009. And I was as the chair of the Committee on Investigating the Subsidy Regime and its implication and what was really going on in the subsidy regime. And to the best of my understanding, one, the removal itself was a decision of our representatives in the National Assembly, because they prepared the 2023 budget and they did not provide for subsidy post 29th May 2023. So if the budget of 2003 did not include provision for the entire subsidy, including the one that has been removed, then, I mean, it's not a new thing. For everybody that reads the budget, Nigerians would have understood that, yes, there was no provision for a certain percentage of the subsidy post 29th May. So rather, Mr. President, what he did was not news. It was something that was already there, and he had to bite the bullet to announce it. So you can't say that he actually removed the subsidy. The subsidy was removed by the budget of 2003. It was a law. And if he came in and said he would, he paid subsidy, from where is he going to get the money? From nowhere. And if he does take the money from somewhere, he will be committing an impeachable offense. So I think, I hope that has been understood.
So it was
and the
left
second aspect of it,
the Red Sea and the I mean the Deep Blue Sea and the devil, isn't
well,
it?
whatever it is. And that component that was actually removed by the president, because he didn't remove the whole subsidy. We're still paying subsidy.
Are we still paying subsidy?
We're still paying subsidy.
So the IMF was correct anyways. That's why Nigeria is paying subsidies.
Well, the IMF, they have their own problems. But if they said it's true they are paying, because between 300 to 400 billion every month goes into money. But that subsidy that was removed was the one I spoke about last time around. It's the one that was going into private pockets. And I tried as much as possible.
NNPC and some very people are involved in the racket.
I decoupled that subsidy that ordinarily shouldn't have been paid. Yeah, if it was paid, it should have been paid into the treasury of the country. And today, that increase in revenue that we see reflected as a result of removal of that monies that were going into the private pockets is what is going into the treasury of the government today. And we see it reflecting in the revenues of the federal government. So I had earlier decoupled, and the one that we discovered, when a ship leaves Europe to bring in petroleum products, it was discovered that sometimes they berth within the West African coast to discharge some of this fuel. And of course, when it comes, it takes time, sometimes up to 2 months before a ship will berth, which means demurrage is paid in the region of almost $120 million. All is part of what the poor man is paying in Nigeria, because that money was supposed to have gone into the treasury. Not only that, even when they berth from the ship side to the tank farm, hundreds of thousands of liters are lost. That one too, subsidy is being paid. And then when the tankers are filled up from the Atlas Copco tanks and they are up-country bound, some of them find themselves in Niger, some of them in Czech Republic, some of them far away, Central, including, of course, Cameroon. So you can see that maybe close to about one third of what is imported goes out. And then you have that subsidy that is being paid in petrol or petroleum products that are pumped through pipelines. And we discovered that in many instances, the pumping was done in just imaginary pipelines, where the pipelines don't exist. So we all pay subsidy. And that is what the president removed. So instead of going to these private pockets, Nigerian private pockets, the oil magnates, the oil, those who operate the oil industry, it goes into their pockets. It is this money that the president harvested and plowed into the treasury of the government today. And that's why most states are getting twice or even 3 times of what they used to get. So you can see that money has gone into state treasuries, local government treasuries, and also the national treasury. And this money hitherto was going into private pockets. That's the explanation I wanted to every our Nigerian to understand. So, but the subsidy regime now we are paying, it's still there. It may not be adequate. Probably it would have been adequate, maybe the prices would have been forced down. But that which was removed was the one that is stealing money.
So, I mean, do we need to be paying any subsidies at all?
Yes, we do, for now. Because if government doesn't subsidize for now, I think the pains will be more than what we are feeling today. Even though ordinarily we are not supposed to feel any pain. But the fact is that there is a reduction in the subsidy payments that was hitherto being made. The reduction, which is maybe in the region of maybe 200 billion, added to maybe the 400 we are paying now, would have made maybe the petroleum products much cheaper. But that is the reality. So there is need, of course, because anything that has to do with withdrawal of the subsidy completely, I think inflicts pains into the country. It's a common man.
Those who argue that maybe the president and his administration are not able to handle the after effect properly.
Well, I think the president has done his best. If to the extent that these monies are paid into the national treasury and is shared, the onus lies on the recipients of these increased revenues, the state government, the local government, and of course, maybe more allowances would have been, paid to maybe National Assembly members. I would not know that aspect. But at least to the extent that that money, that gap, if you are getting 500 billion, now you are getting almost, they are getting about almost 1 trillion. They share about 1 trillion. Most states are getting twice their allocation. For a state that is 5 billion, maybe we are getting 10 billion. And you can see that this is something that is more like a windfall.
No, but I mean, the question I'm asking is that those who believe stepping into the arena and directly the citizens are feeling the pinch of that singular decision. That those who believe that the removal of subsidy went straight into the heart of the Nigerian economy. And agreed that a major presidential candidate said they were going to remove the subsidies anyways.
Yes.
But the question is that decision is being criticized, that it wasn't properly managed, properly designed, and no strategy to be able to absorb the after effect. And now it is affecting prices of commodities, and it is affecting our economic indices across board.
Well, we appreciate that there is that reaction from the Nigerian citizenry. But I'm assuring you, looking at the entire thing, you will appreciate that that wouldn't have triggered the kind of reaction from our, producers, distributors, the marketers, and maybe those who are the art of retailing and distribution of from wholesales. That reaction was just a spontaneous reaction because it's a tradition in Nigeria. They say once there is increase in fuel prices, then everybody will start increasing the price of his goods. So I think it is more of a psychological thing or something that is within the Nigerians, the Nigerians, we Nigerians. So but anytime.
It wasn't a natural economic effect, it was manual.
It wasn't natural. Couldn't have been natural.
It was handmade. Some people I mean,
it could have been triggered by
some... Is it the work of saboteurs?
It could have been triggered by some invisible hands. But the reality is, because I cannot see a connect between removal of first subsidy and for somebody who is loading his cattle from maybe from Bauchi to Lagos, and most likely, maybe if there is that increase, maybe 50% increase in what he has, the cost of fueling, but he's loading about almost 50 animals inside his lorry. Could that cost have impacted on the cost of a cow to warrant meat, costing up to 3 times its own initial former price? It doesn't make sense to me. So the whole thing is just either, a reaction, a psychological reaction on the part of everything is going to be expensive, and therefore I have to increase the cost of my goods. And several other goods you can cite, for instance. So anything that has no foreign exchange component or tied to subsidy removal, and after all, the subsidy has not been completely removed, like I said. It is being paid. But of course, maybe you can say there's still a gap. Maybe if the government had filled it, we will not be feeling the pinch. But I said that money that was removed was that one that was going to private pocket. So now that you are richer and more money is coming into you, and if the reaction was as such, I would imagine that maybe the beneficiaries of this increase in revenue should have come up and team up with the federal government and see how they can introduce palliatives as quickly as possible, so that at least they can counter, the move made by producers of, consumables and producers of goods and services. For instance, if a state was received an additional 5 billion every month, of course you'd have intervened in the market, cost of goods. You'd have intervened maybe in hospital and all other services that people consume, including foodstuff and other things. So if you pump in 5 billion to neutralize the effect of the imaginary, increase in cost, but people just perceive that there is going to be increase. And once we are able to pump that money, stabilize the prices, the prices will start coming down, because they will realize that the fuel, the so-called subsidy removal, has not even impacted on their either production costs or their transportation. Even if it does, it's just marginal.
Well, what would the president do to be able to stem the tide of the rising cost of prices of commodities? Because now the average citizen is feeling the pinch. Their salaries have not changed. The cost of living increased, and now the hardship in the land is, and you see the manner in which some people are reacting to it, looting warehouses where food items are being stored up. These are sad realities of our time.
They are realities shown, but what I'm saying is that that situation wouldn't have arisen. It is not the president we should just be hammering, president. When you have governors, the governors are in charge of the states. And of course, all the revenues they get, their responsibility is to make sure that every person that in his state sleeps with his children, with his stomach filled up, not going to bed without food in his stomach. It's their own responsibility. And of course, part of president's responsibility. But they can only make noise when they approach the president and say, okay, I have these gaps. I cannot satisfy the yearning of my people because of so. That is where the president will intervene. That is in addition to the normal interventions the president is doing. So if today every state is 5 billion richer, why should they be constructing roads? Why should they be constructing, maybe why should they engage in investing in capital projects, which ordinarily will not impact on the lives of the people? Because the people now are challenged with feeding their families. And if they can they can invest in, forcing the prices of, goods to come down, I think that would have gone a long way. These things that we are seeing happening in our streets, I mean, it's most unfortunate. So the president is not the only person alone in managing the country. The governors should have come in. I would have expected that this is something that the National Economic Council would have taken up and let the governors come and sit with the presidency, and everybody should take his own share of responsibility so that you have increased income And therefore, this increased income should be useful to our citizens. And we must not allow hunger to ravage our country.
Stands rating and approval rating as
I
dipped.
say the onus lies on us now to go out.
What about the president himself?
Well,
does he need to impress Nigerians and show Nigerians that he has the capacity and the abilities to turn things around?
He is already doing it.
But he does look like the effect of that is on the negative.
The ordinary man on the streets will not understand until when they talk to people like us. For instance, I give you an example. Today I was coming from, yesterday, when I was coming back. There's a national conference of one of the, Islamic groups in Bauchi. And I came with their leaders in the area. And they said, they had me, talking in channels about this subsidy. They want, because they are a little bit confused because they don't know what really it is. And they have taken a stand preaching against what the president has been, has removed subsidy. And it does appear from my own explanation, it's not something that they should continue bashing him. So right now I have an appointment with them. I'm going to sit with them, the whole national thing, and then I will decouple all this subsidy thing and also what the budget means. So I would expect more Nigerians, especially the cabinet of Mr. President, to go down to the, the lowest strata of our society and try to explain to them that this is the situation we find ourselves. And it is not just the subsidy alone, or the issue of subsidy removal. If we hadn't had some of the challenges that we had, especially, our central bank messing us up, and other sectors of the economy that were terribly mismanaged in the past, adding up to the problems that we have today, it wouldn't be the way it is today.
All right.
If you have seen the Naira in the free fall, coinciding with time when this issue of subsidy removal is there, it's something that is you should explain to people and they should understand. Okay. But most of our people on the street will not understand the dynamics in the economy. They will not even understand whether money is printed, the implication of printing money on the economy. They will not understand. They don't know the implication of having, exceeding the threshold of borrowing, or and so on and so forth. These are all technical things that are supposed to be for people who have gone to school, and they are supposed to come and implement it. And of course, we have seen also the IMF coming here to stay in our central bank and ministries of finance, and they are watching things going bad, and yet they didn't talk.